Greetings from Long Island, where every highway is a sunrise. It's time for Dave's Gone By, an hour of comedy, talk, and music brought to you by Total Theater, with your host, Dave Lefkowitz. You've never heard anything like it, so sit back, relax, squeal if you must. Here's the host of Dave's Gone By, Dave!
Tropical hot dog night! I shoot flamingos in a fruit fight! Every cover of day, whirling around at night.
Well, there goes the Daverhood. Welcome, everybody, to the 222nd episode of Dave's Gone By. We're calling it Loom 222 because we're going to weave a loom of fun and interesting and weird and goofy things on this episode of Dave's Gone By. I'm Dave Lefkowitz, the host. I've got my special and general guest co-host with me, Jeffrey Goodman. What does Jeff have to say? Hello, Jeff.
Are we waiting for the Karen Valentine and Michael Constantine phone call?
It would be great if I know Michael Constantine is still acting. I don't know. Whatever happened to Karen Valentine?
I don't know.
I guess she didn't call it on Valentine's Day, so that didn't happen. I'm not sure.
Maybe she was part of that Valentine's Day massacre.
Oh, now stop that. No, just stop. Well, there was almost a massacre by lightning today, you said. Something about a JetBlue flight?
JetBlue from, I think it was Rochester to JFK, got struck by lightning midair, I guess.
Yeah.
And they said it smelled like a little electrical fire, which is always nice to smell on the plane.
Which actually was, in a way.
But leave it to the airlines to put a good spin on it. Because they said, well, they got hit by lightning, but the emergency landing made them 20 minutes early to JFK.
So wait, they actually landed where they meant to land anyway?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, that's pretty cool. Maybe they should try that on Delta.
Maybe like the electricity hit the airplane and boom!
Yeah.
Like in a cartoon.
Or what's a jetpack? It goes to the
It was a JetBlue pack.
Exactly. Oh, well, it's a happy little story to begin our evening. Our evening, which, by the way, is sponsored by, as always, as ever, some wonderful folks, including Hewlett Minuteman Press, the Copy Kings of Broadway, 1315 Broadway in Hewlett. Their number is 516-569-5577. Jeff, do you want to tell...
We never give out their phone number, do we?
Well, sometimes we do.
Give it again.
569-5577 in the area code that is 5 and 1 and 6.
And I heard they're having the Jeff Goodman special again this week.
Yes, 10% off for all Dave's Gone By listeners who mention either me or Jeff or Dave's Gone By or even JetBlue. As long as you mention that you're hearing about JetBlue on this show. And tell us about...
Or Room 222.
Or Room 222. You want to talk about Performing Arts Insider Theater Magazine?
Oh,
Jeff?
my Bible of Broadway.
Yeah.
I love it. I get it every so often, whenever Dave gives me a copy that I pay for.
Yes.
Good. No one gets a free issue of Performing Arts Insider.
No, you got to pay for it.
It's a very informative theatrical index, as it were.
And it's worth it. Nice choice of words there.
What?
Nothing. Little inside theater joke there.
The theatrical
index?
Yes, but it tells you everything about all the shows running on, off, cabaret. I mean, there's not a show that this magazine doesn't cover.
Performing Arts Insider. And where can you find out more about it?
At davesgoneby.org.
That is correct, which has a link to performingartsinsider.com. And speaking of .coms... Tell us about... Yes.
We have mortgagesrock.com.
Mortgages what?
Oh, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, that hurts your throat now, man.
Mortgagescough.com. Mortgagesrock.com. Where you can make money off your mortgage, you can make money off your friend's mortgage. You don't even have to have a mortgage. You can make money off your friends.
Like a loan, if they need a big loan for college or for whatever.
It's really quite informative. As I told everyone last week, I've used the website. I didn't actually get a loan on it because WAMU was a little better.
A little bit better. But were the WAMU people as helpful and nice, and did they have as good a website? Don't answer that question if the answer is yes. So, mortgagesrock.com, mortgagesrock.com, the place to go, not only to get mortgages and loans, but to help your friends and family get loans. And if you do the paperwork, you get the commission. And finally, fancy schmancy balloons the worst party decorators in the history of the universe. But we like them because Jeff is the owner of Fancy Schmancy. And why should people use your service,
If
Jeff?
you're going to get ripped off by someone, you might as well get ripped off by me, right, Dave?
I totally agree. Now, speaking... Oh, and how can people contact you?
Oh, they can call me at 516... get ripped off. No. 516-797-3229.
Once again.
516-797-3229.
That's it.
Now, I'm on the web here looking up a little Room 222.
Yeah.
Do you know that it won a best new series for 1969? It was on for 5 years, from 69 to 74.
Mm-hmm. I want to know what happened to what was his name? The curly-haired guy who looked like Flute Snoot meets Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Remember
that would
him?
be Lloyd Haynes.
Lloyd Haynes. Do an IMDb on him. I would love to...
A what?
Internet Movie Database. It would just give all his credits. Did he do anything?
How do you get to that?
He's probably bald now. IMDb.com. And while you're doing that, let me tell the folks what we're going to be doing on this Loom 22 edition of Dave's Gone By. First of all, we have a special guest. His name is Drew Velting. And Drew, well, his day job is as a psychotherapist. He's a psychologist. That's what he does. He's been doing it for years. But he's now decided to do something a little more interesting. He's going into comedy. He's doing stand-up comedy at different places along Long Island and in New York. But to get shall we say, cut his teeth, to really hone his chops, where he's been performing is mostly nursing homes and assisted living facilities. And so that's his audience at the moment. And he's not
They're just dying when he gets there.
They're dying to see him. And this is a guy who's about my age. It's not like he's 70s, 80s himself.
He's only 60?
No. And so I figured this has got to be pretty interesting to talk to a guy who's done a couple of dozen appearances in front of people who are probably more interested in their applesauce or their morphine drip than the next joke being told by this guy. So I'm looking forward to this. Drew Velting. He's America's funniest psychologist of the aged. And also on this episode of Dave's Gone By, Inside Broadway. We have some Broadway news. Yes, the season has technically ended, but we're still waiting for the big Tony Awards. They're coming soon. In fact, they're
also waiting for the big opening of Xanadu.
Well, Xanadu begins the next season. That's the first new Broadway show of the upcoming season. But first come the Tonys on June 10th, and by the way, I'll be saying it over and over again. But
Dave, do we have a special show about
We've got a special Tony Awards show for the 3rd year running. I will be hosting... No, that was superb. That nice little fanfare there. I'll be hosting the 3rd annual WGBB Tony Awards special on WGBB on June 4th. That's the Monday before the Tonys, from 7 to 10 p.m. prime time, New York time. It's also on the web, of course, at AM1240WGBB.com. It's going to be great. I'll be telling you all about it in a little bit. But we've lined up a bunch of critics to give their opinions of who's going to win and who deserves to win Tony Awards from all the different categories. We've also lined up a Tony nominee from Spring Awakening. We're talking exciting, cool...
Who from Spring Awakening?
I'll tell you later. See, this is called building suspense. It's a theatrical device.
I'm suspenseful.
Now, tell me, so again, that's June 4th, the Monday. We will be on the air on Sunday, June 3rd, doing our usual show at 11. And then... the week after, on June 10th, we'll be on the air right after the Tony Awards from 11 to midnight. So it's going to be really fun.
Really exciting.
Yeah. And Jeff is going to be co-hosting there along with Simon Saltzman, who is the president of the Outer Critics Circle. So do not miss all the cool stuff that we've got. So anyway, we're doing Inside Broadway tonight with some Broadway news and going to be reviewing 2 shows. The Romance of Magno Rubio, which is an off-Broadway show, an Obie winning show that they've brought back, and also a comedy cabaret called Don't Quit Your Night Job. And then if there's time at the at the end of the program, Jeff and I will be talking about the last hours of Rosie O'Donnell on The View. May she rest quietly for a little while, at least. So, Jeff, did you find anything on IMDb about Mr. Haynes?
I found it's...
Did you find Haynes' underwear?
No, I found him in General Hospital in 1963.
Yes.
Is that possibly him?
Well, it could be.
Oh, it does look like him.
Yeah. But what's
yes, here we go.
What are his most recent credits? We've got to kind of get to commercial.
He was born on September 19th, 1934.
1934?
And
wow.
the problem is he doesn't have a lot of recent credits.
Yeah.
Is that he died December 31st, 1986.
What was it? Did it say?
It
usually gives a little bio of him.
He was on the T.J. Hooker.
Yeah.
Simon and Simon.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Dynasty.
Okay. I mean, we're talking like one-note little roles.
No, he was a judge in 4 episodes of Dynasty.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He was the track coach in Simon of Simon.
I bet he was bald by then or something, or fat.
He did a lot of Disneyland.
Well, what was his last credit? When was his last appearance somewhere before before the slab?
Well, what happened to Rosemary's Baby?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well,
he became George W. Bush.
He has a lot.
Okay. Well,
but they're not in chronological order. It's hard to find.
Why? IMDb generally is if they're all acting credits.
Well, I'm giving it to you in order that he was in The Kid Who Knew Too Much, a 1980 TV movie.
All right.
Harold Robbins' 79 Park Avenue in 77.
Oh, I remember him in that. Not.
He was in Emergency twice as Captain Stone.
Okay.
He was on Julia.
Okay. Jeff, I don't care anymore. We have to get to commercial. We've got other stuff to do on this program, so don't go away. Dave's gone by. Loom 222 looming forward. We'll be back with Inside Broadway right after this. Minutemen, the superheroes of photocopying, printing and binding. Minutemen, no job too big or small. Minutemen, family run since 1975. Minutemen, 1315 Broadway in Hewlett, Long Island, next to the new Loman Shoe Store. Tell them Dave sent you for 10% off. Minutemen, hero of our photocopying dreams. Inside Broadway, brought to you by Total Theater's Performing Arts Insider, your everything theater guide. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, even though the Broadway season has officially ended, we're still counting the hours and days until the Tony Awards, but also we're thinking about next season. As Jeff mentioned in the first segment, Xanadu's coming in just a couple of weeks. That's the, yes, they've made a musical of the Olivia Newton-John and Gene Kelly movie that, well, Gene Kelly was in that one, right? Don't bother with the IMDb, but yeah, it's a cult. It was supposedly a fairly terrible film. It was awful. And I paid to see it. You really did?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I liked Olivia Newton-John at the time, and I thought going to see her on roller skates in a movie would be cool.
Okay. And
that was like, you know.
Well, have you seen it since that original time? Has it gone to this cult status with you as it has with other viewers?
No.
Okay, so it has remained bad. And I don't think Douglas Carter Bean, who is the playwright on this show, thinks it's all that great either. But he sees it as one of those bad cult films you can turn into something really campy and zany and fun and goofy. It's what he's trying to do. Just started previews, so we're going to check that out. But you know what else is going to be coming to Broadway? We've just found out this past week.
What?
It's a show that's been off Broadway, and it just had a real groundswell of popular opinion. It's won already, I think, a Drama Desk Award or two, deservedly so. It's a vibrant, ethnic kind of musical. Ooh, Jeff is still kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Take one guess.
Zootopia?
No, Zootopia closed off Broadway. No, that ran a while off Broadway, and it's not Gutenberg the musical, which closed. Yeah. This is more of a, I mean, as soon as it opened, people started saying, wow, with that set, with that cast, with those people, this is exciting. This is probably Broadway bound.
I don't know.
Well, it's the musical In the Heights.
Oh, that's right.
Which is going to be closing off Broadway July 15th, just in order to move to Broadway in the early part of next season. The score is by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is also the lead actor in the play, and the book is by Chiara Allegria Udis. Probably the only reason they didn't want to transfer it this season is the thunder would have been stolen by Spring Awakening, because it's also a very lively, young, non-typical Broadway musical show. I think it's going to do really well next year if they keep the energy and the spirit of it up. It's a very good piece, and some exciting new stuff going on there. In the Heights, catch it when it comes to Broadway in a couple of months.
Theater near you.
Well, if you live in Midtown Manhattan, it's a theater near you. It's not a theater near me. I got to commute an hour. Anyway, here's a play that's not going to Broadway that was supposed to be, but it's still going to play anyway next season off Broadway. It's the newest by Kenneth Lonergan. It's called The Starry Messenger. It was supposed to hit Broadway, but theaters have been pretty booked up. So they're deciding to do it at Manhattan Theater Club at their regular city center place, which is on West 55th Street, instead. And that's going to be happening. And it's still going to have the same star that they were planning on having in the first place, Matthew Broderick. And, he tends to be a Broadway favorite, even though if he hasn't had that much success in movies the past few years. And Lonergan is best known for writing This Is Our Youth and Lobby Hero. Yeah, Jeff? Oh, I thought you were going to mention... And
I'm just being totally entertained by you right now.
Well, thank you so much. Well, Broadway entertains us all. And then the Tony Awards. Well, do you know who the host is going to be?
Not Rosie.
No. And it's also...
I figured they would have her this year, didn't you?
No. Well, no, because we'll be talking about this later, but her circumstance of leaving was not pleasant, and she was the least pleasant part of it. And also, they couldn't even get the guy that they've had the last couple of years either.
Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman. He's busy doing, I guess, TV or a movie.
Am I hosting again?
It was a trick question. Nobody's hosting again. For the second year in a row, they're not having one host for the whole Tonys. They're just going to have a big old series of presenters because they got such wonderful ratings last year doing it.
They went up 1/10 of a point.
Well, they're on against the basketball final playoffs. I think they're on against the end of The Sopranos as well.
Really?
Something like that. CBS is going to pull out sort of their best. They've got Broadway people and the cast of CSI. There's a little tie-in aspect to that.
To find out if the Tony Awards truly are dead or not.
That's right. The autopsy begins of the season. No, I mean, I understand... what's his name from CSI? William Peterson. Because he was a big Chicago actor before Broadway snatched him away to do... before television snatched him away.
Marg Helgenberger.
Right, yeah. Did she do a Broadway show? I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of...
Wouldn't you remember a woman named Marg?
I remember a woman named Helgenberger. I might not be able to pronounce Helgenberger, but actually, I think I had a Helgenberger last week. It was good with Swedish.
Gave me a little gas.
Oh, really? Did it? Yeah. But let's. I will tell you that there are some pretty cool presenters. You've got Harry Connick Jr., Claire Danes, Carla Gugino, Neil Patrick Harris, and Marg Helgenberger is the presenter. Felicity Huffman, Jen Krakowski, Angela Lansbury, who's on Broadway this season.
Well, actually, she would have had to have been on a Broadway stage because they do not allow you to present the Tony Award unless they change the rules, unless you've been on a Broadway stage.
Oh, okay. What we'll do is maybe in commercial go to the Internet Broadway database and check what Marg was in. She probably was. I won't be surprised if 10 years ago she did a couple of off-Broadway or maybe a Broadway show or two. Also presenting the Tony Awards on June 10th, Audra McDonald, Bernadette Peters, David Hyde Pierce, who's in Curtains Now, Liev Schreiber, who's in Talk Radio, Kevin Spacey, who's in A Moon for the Misbegotten, Usher will be there because he's Usher. And there will also be several Ushers.
Like all those performances in Chicago.
Oh, did he really?
Oh, yeah, don't you remember? He was sick, and, oh, my God, they lost so much money with him.
He's the Donna Murphy of Chicago. No, I don't. I don't know why I said that. Vanessa Williams will be there, Patrick Wilson, and the Jersey Boys cast. So, and there will be more presenters added, but that's who they have so far. So, I'll be at the radio station. I won't be watching, but hopefully... They say that apparently they're really going to try next year to do some different stuff and change things around. So this could be a transitional year for the Tony Awards. Now, as I mentioned in our previous segment, the reason I'm pushing the Tony Awards even harder than I do every year is not just because I love the theater, not just because this is the Inside Broadway segment, but join Jeff and myself and Simon Saltzman, president of the Outer Critics Circle, on Monday, June 4th, from 7 to 10 p.m. right here on AM 1240 WGBB.
And it'll be a great show.
The third annual Tony special. We've gotten great, I wouldn't say reviews, but great feedback.
And we get fantastic ratings.
Well, yeah.
Fantastic.
I mean, people like it, and it's fun, and we play show music, and we talk to some cool people. Now, I promised, I said I would tell you who our Tony nominee is going to be that we're talking to. We might get another one, but this one is definitely set in stone. The choreographer of Spring Awakening, Bill T. Jones, will be our guest in the neighborhood, and if you've seen Spring Awakening, you know that's pretty cool, because one of the things that makes that show so exciting is the choreography, is the movement, is the way everybody moves around on stage and jumps around on stage.
And slams.
And he may actually be the favorite to win the Tony. I'm not going to go that far, but fingers crossed, he might be the guy. Because last year on our show, on the Tony Award special, we had Danny Burston, who was funny and wonderful, and he was delightful in The Drowsy Chaperone, but he didn't win. So maybe this year we'll get a winner. Also,
let's hope to pick a winner.
Among the critics that we'll be talking to, who will be giving their picks and pans of the Broadway season, are Roz Friedman, a Connecticut radio critic, Iris Dorbian, who's the editor of Stage Directions, the senior editor of Theater Mania, Michael Portantier, Richmond Shepard, owner of the Richmond Shepard Theater, Charlie Gross, who is Jeff's co-host.
Who the hell is he?
You can tell everybody who Charles Gross is, Jeff.
Oh, he hosts a nothing TV show with me called Till on the Aisle.
Till on the Aisle. And also...
every Friday night that he can't watch it.
Jeannie Lieberman, a couple of other folks. It's going to be a really
How about
fun...
the woman who cursed last year?
No.
She's not invited?
She's not quite going to make it on to this. Maybe next year. We're going to give her a year moratorium.
Good show.
Yeah. So no cursing on this episode, even though half the score of Spring Awakening has curses in it. We'll find a couple of songs to play.
When you're beeped, you're beeped.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, we've got some other theater to talk about. I've got some reviews to do on this Inside Broadway, which I'm going to do right after this message. If you love Broadway, off-Broadway, cabaret, opera, and dance, isn't it time you subscribe to Performing Arts Insider, the ultimate guide to everything on the stages of New York? Listings, reviews, box office, and production news, all at 10% off for Dave's Gone By listeners. To subscribe or get a sample issue, call 516-295-1511, 295-1511, or see performingartsinsider.com. Welcome back to Dave's Gone By and the Inside Broadway segment brought to you by Performing Arts Insider. Jeff is looking up Marg Helgenberger.
I can't find Marg Helgenberger ever did something on Broadway. Well, so, Marg, you're going to have to call us and tell us what you did.
Yeah, the number at the station. We'll give out the number at the station later because we'll be having call-ins for people who want to talk about Rosie.
Or if you'd like to pre-dial.
No, you'll just end up on hold, Everhold, for about half an hour. So
Everhold's always fun.
Yeah. Now, and we're going to talk about two shows that I saw this week, even though it's Inside Broadway, off-Broadway. One
this was the Inside Off-Broadway.
Yeah, pretty much. There you go. Thanks for clearing that up, the clarification, Jeff. The Romance of Magno Rubio, which is a play by a former teacher of mine, actually my favorite playwriting teacher at NYU, Lonnie Carter, and was actually a very celebrated play a couple of years ago when it was done off-Broadway by the Mayi Theater Company. And the Mayi are back again. And they're doing it. They won a couple of Obie Awards. That's the Village Voice Theater Award for Magno Rubio. So they brought it back as part of the National Asian American Theater Festival that's happening around town these couple of weeks. And I'm glad I got to see it. It's an interesting piece. It's about these Filipino laborers in the earlier part of the last century, where they come to this country. They're basically herded and bundled in, and basically have to pay back their shipping and freight cost. And what they do is they work in the fields, sun up to sundown, miserable labor, mistreated, basically have no connection to the family that they left behind and probably will never see again, and have no contact with much of the outside world except their bosses and each other and the occasional prostitute that they have saved their money to get to see.
Scandalous.
So what happens is one of these ends up doing a Lonely Hearts pen pal kind of thing and starts corresponding with a woman who seems actually interested in him, and he's interested in her, and they have a fall-in-love epistolary correspondence, which is kind of idyllic, except for the fact that she keeps asking for money. Always something wrong with her family, always some new trinket or object that she wants, and that he has no compunction or problem buying for her. Well, he ends up even getting to the point of meeting her, but things don't go well. Now, it sounds like a pretty grim story. These men living in the barracks, and they're abused, and it's not nice, and even the love story crashes. But there's a reason the show is called The Romance of Magno Rubio, and not like The Wrath of Wrath, or bunch of men being really miserable for 90 minutes. Carter doesn't go that way, the author. He's out there to really tell a more picaresque story against the background of this misery. It would be easy to show these guys being miserable for an hour and a half and just see them hit and have the money taken from them and just working and laboring with sweating and having a terrible, terrible time of it. But if you just give little clues to that, you show someone being hit once, if you show them working a little bit, if you show just the barracks that they live in, then you can go off on flights of fancy. And it's actually a verse play, often in rhymed verse. They sing a lot. They tease each other a whole bunch. There's always mocking stuff. There's a lot of ribald humor. And that helps the show coast along and tell its story and still get its political points across. The fact that what these men are dreaming about, their hopes and dreams, and even that the woman that Magno Rubio idolizes and tries to go for is in some ways a representation of an America that they came for that they can never really touch or be part of. It's all there. The one real criticism I have of Magno Rubio is that it's a one-note story. It tells Magno's tale, and the people around him are more types than anything else, and there's no subplots. And at an hour and 40 minutes with no intermission, it's just a bit thin and repetitious to really hold the stage. I think they could have done it just as well and more powerfully in about 80. But it is a theatrical piece. It is worth seeing. And catch it at the Culture Project, 55 Mercer Street. It's a couple of blocks away from Spring Street and Canal Street. The play is called The Romance of Magno Rubio. And again, I'm kind of glad to see that my favorite playwriting teacher is doing pretty well for himself. He's still teaching at NYU. So he's not a Broadway type of playwright. Don't expect that. Expect something a little more out there, a little more avant-garde, but definitely very heartfelt storytelling from him. Now, also, I was able to catch this weekend a comedy cabaret performance and show produced by someone that Jeff and I kind of know pretty well. Maybe not so much personally, although I met him once or twice. But do you know who's producing Don't Quit Your Night Job?
No.
It's his first major job since stepping down from a pretty big position in theater circles.
You?
If only. If only had the time, the money, and the contacts to do that kind of a producing thing. That was the key word there, producing.
I know. Is that the guy who used to be the head of the League of American Theaters and Producers?
Bingo, Jed Bernstein, who for about 10 years was the head of the Theater League. These are the guys who all do the marketing, and then they get all the producers together, and they figure out how to best market and do stuff on Broadway so that everybody makes a whole lot of money. And he was very much into both that and also taking Broadway on tour and making tons of money on the road. But he also had one foot in the old style of Broadway that he remembered from the 60s and 70s, going to the theater with his parents, having a special night out, wondering why the usherettes had to wear these ridiculous black costumes with lacy piping on the sleeves. And there were things that he could change and things that he didn't change. And so you feel that kind of dichotomy pressing against itself in Don't Quit Your Night Job, which is a comedy improv show that's, where is that being done? It's over at the Ha Comedy Club on West 46th Street.
The Ha?
The H-A apostrophe, the Ha Comedy Club.
Aha!
Aha. So the thing is, because of its location, and maybe because of the crowd I saw it with, it's going to be sort of a bridge and tunnel thing. The crowd is not going to be this insular, as if it really even exists anymore, this all theater-y type crowd that used to go to Sam's, or would crowd after a show and get together around the piano and watch some famous star come off from behind the stage and the stage
That'd have been
door.
nice, huh?
Well, that's the kind of the idea behind it. So what they do is they mix a cast of improv regulars with theater stars who are coming out of their matinees or in the 11 o'clock shows getting done with their evenings. So when I saw it this weekend, Hunter Foster was among the cast. They had Daniel Reichert from Jersey Boys. Nancy Opel was in it, very funny woman from Urinetown. So it's a very, very shifting cast, and I guess what they're doing is to attract the crowds. They get these famous names in there, and at the same time, they're charging about $55 for the top ticket, $35 for the lower tickets, plus a 2-drink minimum. So it's going to be anywhere from $50 to $80 per person to get in there and watch an improv variety show that runs about an hour and 5 minutes and is hit and miss as most improv shows are. I can't recommend this any higher than, say, Chicago City Limits, which charges $15 at the door, and you're in.
Really?
Well, it's just, some of the, like the best sketch was pretty cool. They had Christopher Sieber, who was in Spamalot, and they gave him a song to sing from Chicago, All I Need Is the Girl, except this was All I Need Is the Blank, done in Mad Lib form. And what they did was they had a guy do the lyric, we didn't know what song it was going to be. He just looked for a noun, a verb, and the audience would shout out these different names and places and adjectives, and then he would plug them in, and Christopher Sieber got up and sang the song with all the little Mad Lib words plugged in. It was funny, and it was a good sport. See, the way you're looking at it, that was one of the funniest bits of the night.
Ooh.
Improv is always a crapshoot.
Aha!
And it was pretty amusing. They also got, some 10-year-old kid who's in Les Miserables to do a monologue as the old guy from the Coast of Utopia. Sounds cute. It didn't work at all. And I don't want to pay. Well, I didn't have to pay, but as an average person, I won't want to pay.
We don't want you to have to pay.
Yeah, exactly. So I really cannot strongly recommend it, even though I had a pretty good time. Maybe if it were in a more of a small little club or downtown, where it really felt like a little Broadway enclave, rather than something that wants to be a cross between Forbidden Broadway and something hipper and stranger. I don't know. Maybe we'll check it out in 6 months if it's still there, and see if they've really found their niche and really clicked in what they're doing, or if they get some really, really huge stars, which occasionally they do get. So mes a mes on Don't Quit Your Night Job.
So they shouldn't quit their night job either.
Pretty much.
Or their day job, because it looks like they may have to have that too.
Yeah, just for a bit. Anyway, that's the story off Broadway, inside Broadway. We've just been inside Broadway, thanks to TotalTheater.com and Performing Arts Insider. And the Tony Award goes to... Well, if you want to know about all the Tony action, listen Monday night, June 4th, to WGBB's 3rd annual Tony Award special. We'll play show tunes, ask the experts their predictions, we'll be giving away prizes, and even talking to Tony nominees. I'm Dave Lefkowitz, host of Dave's Gone By. Please join me 7 to 10 p.m. on Monday, June 4th, for the Tony Award special on AM 1240 WGBB, the station that serves your Broadway community. Okay, listen to me. No, I mean listen to me on compact disc, where bunches of past episodes of Dave's Gone By are yours to hear over and over again. Comedy sketches like Mills a Poppin' and Handyman Yoni, visits with guests like Reckless Eric and Julie Haggerty, punchlines and politics in the news gone by, all just $11 a disc, shipping included. Visit davesgoneby.org or call 516-295-1511 for me on CD. Welcome back to Dave's Gone By, and we're going to get a little crazy in our next segment. but maybe not directly. We're going to get someone who deals with crazies in a crazy way. We've got a psychologist, or actually, is it a psychologist or a psychiatrist here?
Psychologist.
So I can't get any drugs from you. Which is
no, I can take drugs, but I'm not allowed to dispense them.
Darn. Why didn't I invite him? Anyway, the fellow we have in the studio is Drew Velting, and he is a psychologist. And, yeah, there are a million psychologists out there. But how many of them are also stand-up comedians? And how many of them who are stand-up comedians and psychologists do their bits in front of lunatics and in front of the really, really decrepit and aged? Well, I found one. His name is Drew Velting. He's in the studio with us in the neighborhood. Drew, welcome. How, what, where, why, what? Tell.
Thanks, Dave. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. And I kind of fell into the comedy piece. I've been a psychologist now for 10 years, over 10 years, and always seemed to find myself doing stand-up when I was teaching. I taught at Ball State University, also taught some courses at Stony Brook.
All right, well, first of all, before we go further, can you make a Ball State joke? Because Ball State you have to.
Yes, Ball State. Ball U is a T-shirt that you see people wearing often, and, of course, that has other meaning. Dave Letterman is, of course,
yes.
Alma mater, and it was wonderful being there for 2 years.
So you were bald for a couple of years there.
For a few years, and then we decided to leave East Central Indiana. It was hard to part from there, but we came back to New York, my wife and I, and then just about a year and a half ago, about 2 years ago, I started writing material seriously, actually not really seriously, humorously, and then started to perform, and performed at my first nursing home show in North Belmore at the Bel Air Care Center. You may have heard of that venue.
Right, okay.
And that was in April of '06, I believe.
So it's all relatively recent here.
It is.
So some of those people may even still be alive.
Some may be. I have some fans who write to me, recreation directors.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But how did you get the gig? I mean, did you just write to them and say, guys, you're desperate, and Barry Manilow ain't going to play here, but I can, or
something along those lines? I called the recreation director directly and asked her if she would like to have some entertainment, and she asked me a bit about it, and I mentioned that I was relatively new, and she said, sure, why not? The price is right. It was free.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go.
So that's often a very big selling point. And from there, it's just taken off. I was looking last night at my schedule. I've done 18 shows since March of this year.
Oh, wow.
And I'm, as you may know, I'm in the middle of my long-term care tour. 2 weeks, doing 7 shows to celebrate National Nursing Home Week, which is just finishing up this week.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea until a few months ago myself. But
so what are some of the places, the real hot gigs you've played?
The hot gigs, I've played the Parkview in Massapequa, which is a very large venue. And funny story there, I opened by telling the folks there that it was great to be in Massapequa. And there's a young woman, early 60s.
Well, there's a joke right there. Okay.
There you go. Well, that's right. But a young woman in the front row said, "Where is that?" Very seriously.
Oh, dear.
And so I tried to be diplomatic. I said, "I think that's where we are now." And to that she responded, "You mean you don't know?" So that got a very big laugh, though, and it was a great show. I've done, just this week, I did the Fairview in Forest Hills. It's a very nice show, off the Grand Central Parkway there. And I love doing nursing homes, Dave, but I am working my way up to assisted living, so the big time.
So, I mean, is it because you're new at this and you figure it's an audience that would be receptive to someone coming up there and drooling on a phone book? Or I mean, I'm not trying to be cruel.
Oh, no.
I am trying to be cruel, actually. Or is it that and the fact that, hey, this is an audience that may not get entertainment. A lot of them are still very savvy, and why not?
Exactly. Well, honestly, I did start off with the intention of finding a venue. And you may know, and being in theater and so forth, that stage time is precious.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get stage time. Comics fight tooth and nail for it. And so I thought, gee, this is an opportunity. It's a fairly non-threatening audience most of the time. And so it does offer you a chance to try out material. I have been heckled, however.
Oh, come on.
I have to say. I have been heckled, Dave. And I'd say...
Heckling does not include calling us, "I'm dying."
Well, right. I guess
That's
it's all how you
something else,
define,
yeah.
operationally define heckling.
My spleen, my
spleen.
spleen. That's not heckling. That's, desperation.
Well, right, and some of the patients are not, they may be over-medicated or impaired cognitively. I know I'm somewhat cognitively impaired, so it's not surprising in a nursing home.
Welcome to the club. But what did the hecklers say to you?
Well, let's see. I had at one show, a woman indicated very strongly that she didn't think I was very funny.
Oh.
I asked her if she couldn't remember why. Which, so, of course, this is a wonderful way also, I didn't mention, to generate new material.
Oh, yeah.
For shows elsewhere. And, let's see, I was at the Parkview, I mentioned, a woman mentioning that she didn't know where we were. I was trying to do a procrastination joke at one home.
Yeah.
And a woman asked me how do you spell that? And, she caught me off guard.
Oh, yeah.
Actually. And, so.
And you told her, I'll look it up. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Exactly, right.
Okay.
I said, couldn't you wait until after the show?
Right,
or something like that. And but it's a lot of fun.
Have you done, besides, you said you're working your way up to assisted living as a joke, sort of, but have you tried places like the Brokerage and quote-unquote real comedy club venues? Sure.
I did an improv class at the Brokerage. I'm hoping to do either an open mic or some kind of a show there.
Or an emergency CPR session.
That's right. Or what they call a bringer show, where you bring a few people to the show and you schedule that. I've been at the New York Comedy Club a few times. I've appeared there in a talent showcase. And let's see, I've been at cafes in the area, the Grind Coffee House, which is in Belmore.
Is there a difference really between playing for an audience of 70, 80, 90-year-olds and playing for an audience of 30, 40, 50-year-olds?
Sure. I think that certainly I enjoy humor that tends to be more subtle when I can get away with it.
Sure.
Sometimes it's a bit too subtle and it flies over people's heads, even at a comedy club. There, the challenge is that people may be sedated with other types of chemicals. But at a nursing home, certainly a number of people will be impaired cognitively or medicated or sleepy. And I've had to tread lightly in terms of the subtle stuff. Sometimes I have to hit people over the head with material that's a bit more corny.
Like what?
I'm not very athletic, which is accurate, and I never did well, but I tried water polo,
really,
which I enjoyed until the horse drowned, and then so it's that kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
You need a snare drum for that.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I've been at nursing homes where the residents will laugh, but then they'll tell me that it's corny, so they'll comment on the joke. And every once in a while, you'll see a few residents will get the more subtle stuff, and you can tell that they're more intact cognitively. But it's a lot of fun, and it's I am seriously working my way up toward other venues.
But is it true that I get this at the theater just regularly when I go to a show, especially a comedy. Every single punchline, you're going to hear someone around you repeat the punchline because either they're laughing at it or they're telling the person next to them that they're like, oh, you fell in the water.
Right.
Does that happen every single joke at a nursing home?
It doesn't happen every single joke. There are shows that I go to and there's absolutely no response, which is always...
Those are called funerals.
Funerals, yes, thank you, that's right. So
literally.
Literally. And it is a wonderful... opportunity to learn how to bomb. So if you're a new comic and you want to experience that, certainly you'll see that. It's a bit different, but flat affect, no response, and
has anybody flatlined at one of your literally? Has
no. that hasn't happened. There was a man coughing at the last show I did, and it was really disturbing my timing because I was every time I'd get through a setup, he'd seem to cough, and I was empathic, but. Couldn't do anything. So no one's flatlined. I'm reluctant to say that I've killed at a nursing home because exactly. But it's I'm hoping that won't happen. I've accidentally tripped over wheelchairs and other things like that. Certain hazards.
That's a good gag.
Yeah, it is.
Do you do any visual humor, or is it all because prop humor? I think would go over.
I've considered it, and I was thinking about that recently. I haven't taken that step, but almost there. I've actually considered bringing a laugh track with me to some of these shows because sometimes there is no laughter, frankly. So I leave those shows wondering, why am I doing this? But it's...
How long is a nursing home gig? Is it an hour, or would assume maybe closer to 40 minutes or something like that?
I'll do anywhere from 15 minutes to a half hour, depending on how much material I have and how they're holding up. And one of the challenges is for the recreation directors that it takes a while to bring everyone down to, let's say, a rec room, because they're wheeling them in and they're setting them up, and and when they wheel them in, then I can leave them rolling in the aisles after the show. So at least
literally,
have that opportunity. Literally,
that's the 5th time I've said literally in this interview.
It's a good word,
isn't it? Yeah.
MortgagesRock.com, 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 MortgagesRock.com. Online trading, it's free, it's fast. Needs no explaining, designed for your success. It's easy to be the bomb at MortgagesRock.com. MortgagesRock.com, 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 MortgagesRock.com. I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo and so much space. And when you're out there without care, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much.
We are talking with Drew Velting, a psychologist. Is a psychologist the same as a psychotherapist, or are they different? I can't even tell.
Well, a psychologist can be a psychotherapist. A psychotherapist doesn't have to be a psychologist. I'm a PhD in clinical psychology, whatever that means.
And you've got some serious legit things. I see Columbia University in there somewhere.
I do. I was faculty at Columbia in the child psychiatry division for a few years.
Oh, wow.
And left and actually have an industry job. I work for a pharmaceutical company now on the medical side. Mm-hmm. But this is my avocation, and I'm hoping it grows. But I am a psychologist. Funny, somebody once mentioned to me and said, "Wow, you're a PhD?" Almost. So I said, I was mildly insulted. I said, "Is it really that hard to believe that I have a PhD?" He said, "No, I think that's great." And I said, "Well, it's really not that big a deal. Dr. Phil has one of these too, So
let me ask you: have you, on a very, and I'll use the word literal again, or in an actual demonstrable sense, have you found out that laughter is the best medicine, or is laughter nice and that's it?
I think laughter is a good medicine. I think Vicodin also is especially useful in some respects. But I do think that there's certainly some evidence that the laughter, the response that you get that we call laughter, which has a lot of physiological aspects to it, really can make a difference in terms of immune system functioning and mood regulation. I think it really can bring people up and help people safeguard against stress or cope with stress. I use it myself.
Really? Yeah.
As a coping strategy, I guess you'd say, broadly defined.
And you have kids, right? You have a wife and kids and all that?
We do. My wife is also a clinical psychologist, so you can imagine some of our conversations.
And you have a son.
We have a
named
son.
Otto?
Yes, his name is Otto.
What?
And
are you trying to drive him into therapy later?
I think we're trying to drive both children into therapy, Adelaide and Otto.
He's Adelaide and Otto?
And Otto, yes. Very old-fashioned types of names. Adelaide is 5, Otto is 2, and
well, you ought to be.
And
thank you very much.
Thank you, very good. There we go, snare drum. So it's great. I mean, I think the fact that they do have both of their parents are clinical psychologists puts them at a disadvantage, so they may not have a chance of having a normal life just by virtue of that.
I have to wonder, like, when you and your wife have an argument about whatever, is it different from a normal couple having an argument? Because are you analyzing everything? Well, I think a normal couple does that anyway.
I think we do it.
But do you also then have this other layer of everything you say and everything she says?
Oh, sure.
You're paging through Freud, Jung, and Groucho.
You're projecting. No, you're defensive. Now this is reaction formation. No, So it does. It can.
Is that when you start hitting each other with forks?
We try not to. We try to be more civilized, but we might do some projective testing at that point and take turns on the couch.
Now, one of the things that you tried to sort of get your name out there at some point had to do with the insanity defense for parking. I mean, explain.
That was actually a joke. It was just a blurb on the webpage, actually, to tell people how I transitioned into not practicing anymore. I actually don't practice per se.
Well, you've done it long enough. You shouldn't have to practice.
That's right. I'm right. I should be okay by now. Not perfect, but yeah, there we go. But I do think about patients. I don't see them anymore. I see them in my mind at times. But
that's scary.
Yes, and of course we have our own psychologists and psychiatrists have our own problems and mental health issues.
Oh, so what issue do you have? What have you been diagnosed as by your therapist? Since all therapists have to have a therapist.
Of course.
What does he diagnose you as?
Well, let's see. I'm probably more on the obsessional side.
Oh.
And
so the reason you've been touching yourself incessantly while we've been talking.
That's right. That's a compulsive behavior or ritual, which helps to neutralize some of the anxious thoughts that I'm having.
Oh, there you go.
Which is helpful. I've been talking to myself a lot more lately. I do that, but I've decided that when it happens next, I'm going to say something. So
I think all comedians actually do talk to themselves because there's that they're checking every sentence and every line of how it's going to play.
Very sensitive and exactly very thoughtful.
30 seconds is a long time. You can say a lot in half a minute about your business, your product to sell, your message. Say it on Dave's Gone By. Easy, inexpensive, effective. For details and the rate card, davesgoneby.org or email davesgoneby@aol.com. Imagine how much you can say to my listeners by advertising on Dave's Gone By. Just like this. 28, 29, 30.
Hi, I'm Drew Velting. I'm New York's funniest psychologist, and you're listening to Dave's Gone By on WGBB.
Before we get towards the end of this, I want to know your opinion and your thoughts on the way, and I'm very much involved in this, that comedians on the radio are being hammered and censored and pulled off and suspended and all these things. Any thoughts on where comedy's going for them, and also, I guess, nightclubs with Michael Richards and all that?
Sure. I think that, certainly there's been a swing toward humor that is more out there and kind of in your face. And I know a lot of comics who are now more local and regional comics who are starting to veer toward clean comedy, which I think is it's an angle and a way to market yourself and position yourself relative to what may be out there in terms of the mainstream. Mm-hmm. So it may be a smart way to do that. And I've actually performed at a Christian cafe where the rules are very explicit in terms of what you can say.
There's no coffee, just water. Yeah.
There's only water and bread. Personally, I think someone like Michael Richards went too far. I think he wanted to. I think he tried to turn it into a joke at some point where he realized he had gone a bit
blown it. Yeah,
right. And I think that made it worse because I did see the video clip. It's used it, I'm sure. I think that censorship is a huge issue, as you know, and the censorship is a problem for comics because they have to walk a very fine line, and the edge is really what makes many people funny. I mean, Richard Pryor. There are so many people, George Carlin, pushing the envelope. Chris Rock, exactly.
Modern times, yeah.
Right. I'm dating myself, but
you're dating yourself. I hope your wife knows.
That's right. Well, I talk to myself. Why not date myself?
Hey, actually, let's to close this out.
Sure.
I'm going to be a 90-year-old senile man, and I want you to try just for the heck of it. Why don't you try doing some of your stuff
to make you laugh?
Make me laugh. I want laughter in my life now.
Okay. I'd love to. Can I call you Saul? There we go. The coffin. So, well, it's wonderful to be here and trying to make you laugh, and I hope it's not too painful for you guys. I do have my wife is a psychologist. We have my wife is a psychologist, so we have 2 children, 5 and 2, and they're great kids. Although they don't mind most of the experiments that we conduct. At least since we stopped shocking them.
You were shopping them there?
Shopping them. We go to Rite Aid. That's quite often. Rite Aid. And my family is crazy. I have an uncle who was a suicidal narcissist. He just loved himself to death.
Are you
he just loved himself to death. And
my pills.
My dad's claustrophobic.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
No.
He doesn't like being in confined spaces, which is understandable, but he's a bit extreme with the whole thing. Yesterday, for example, he got all upset because I accidentally locked him in the linen closet. So, and that's often the response I will get. That's right.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we are talking with Drew Velting, comedian of the aged, but rising towards the not quite so decrepit.
That's right.
How do people find out about your stuff? And you don't have a CD or you have a book or stuff like that?
I'm working on some books. One book, and it's the title I'm playing with is How Does That Make You Feel? And it's in its early stages, infancy, but I'm working on it.
And what is it? It's going to be
It's a compilation of one-liners and memoirs and parody, and so it's right now it's finding its way. But I'm basically trying to take most of my material and put it together, most of the psych-related material and put it together.
Very cool.
I do have a website now. It's www.psychcomedy.com.
psychcomedy.com.
Correct.
Cool. Well, Drew Velting, it has been a pleasure having you in the senior neighborhood, as it were. I wish you best of luck, and please keep in touch and let us know how you're doing, and if the age strata of your audience starts going down. Like by the time you're 90, you'll be playing for infants.
That's right. Really I'm hoping it works out that way. Thanks, Dave. It's been a pleasure.
Did you know that I, Dave, am not just a fantastic radio personality, I'm also a playwright, and my book, Marriage, Babies, and the End of the World, is filled with the same humor I bring to Dave's Gone By every week. Funny, sad, true. Makes a great gift. Marriage, Babies, and the End of the World, only $20 hardcover, $12 trade paperback. To get your copy, call 516-295-1511 or email davesgoneby@aol.com. So, you don't have satellite radio, you don't have an iPod or 100 music channels on your cable. Doesn't matter. Live365.com has dozens of radio stations in all sorts of formats absolutely free. And one station, DFSX Radio, plays vintage episodes of Dave's Gone By every Saturday night at 11 Eastern Time. I've even put their link on davesgoneby.org. So, just click to hear music and talk and me free on DFSX.
Hi, I'm Drew Velting, and I'm New York's funniest psychologist, and you're listening to Dave's Gone By on WGBB.
That's WGBB Freeport, ladies and gentlemen, where Dave's Gone By airs every Sunday night from 11 until midnight with me, Dave Lefkowitz, and sometimes and usually my co-host, Jeff Goodman. Jeff's been paging through his little computer machine there to see what's been happening in the news. And
I've been looking for a funnier psychologist, actually.
Really? You probably found a few. I'll tell you. No, I
Yeah.
Just kidding. Drew, you're a great fun and a really good sport. It is not easy to do comedy for one person, let alone 100 dead people in a room. So,
well, the act's not dying, just the patients.
So for more information about him, go to psychcomedy.com, P-S-Y-C-H, comedy.com. Catch him at a nursing home near you. Now, before we get to any of the outro stuff that we've got to do, I do want to apologize to people because we gave you some wrong information. The guy I was talking about on room 222, the guy with the big frizzy fuzzy head. Now, Jeff confused it with the main character, the Sidney Poitier black teacher, who is, as we know, a nappy head. This is kind of the difference here. I'm going for the non-ho type person, who is, as I said, Professor Flute Snoot. Jeff, who did you say he was?
You were going, what was it, Lloyd?
No, the guy's name is David Jolliffe, but you said it was Carrot Top. He was the prototype for Carrot Top.
It looks just like Carrot Top.
So whatever happened to David Jolliffe? And the answer is not much. He's done a couple of things here on, like, Emergency, if anybody remembers that show. And a lot of
Seems that Room 222 was the highlight of his career.
Well, yeah.
Except for that animated Batman thing.
And he did some animated stuff. He did, apparently, what else did he have?
But he's also in the band.
Scooby-Doo thing, because he looked like the Scooby-Doo Shaggy, as I said. He's in a band, this is the weirdest part. He was in a band, or is, with Billy Mumy, who everybody remembers as the child in Lost in Space. But Billy Mumy is better known to weird people like me because he was half of the Barnes and Barnes crew that made the Fish Heads, or I should say the song Fish Heads. And
I liked him as Will Robinson, though.
Danger, Will Robinson. But the thing about that is he was in the same band with Miguel Ferrer, who is a friend of Rafael Ferrer, who's a good friend of a guy I used to work with. So it's all 6 degrees of David Jolliffe, who is still alive. He was not born in the 1930s.
Imagine 6 degrees away is David Lefkowitz.
Yeah. Well, in a weird sort of a way. Oh, and apparently in something called Love Lines, he played Tongue.
Well,
no, I don't even know.
He played Knick-Knack
on your Patty Whack.
Well, I found some interesting news.
What news did you find out, Jeff Goodman?
Well, many of the beach towns on Long Beach Island, one of New Jersey's most popular summer vacation spots, have a law prohibiting people from digging deeper than 12 inches in the sand. Sounds kind of odd, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a kid, that's the whole point. You want to dig to China. You want to go
they
deep.
stem
from
an accident several years ago in which a teenager died when a deep hole he was digging collapsed, burying him.
Oh.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But this year, the prohibition is for a completely different reason. More than 1,000 pieces of unexploded World War I-era military munitions were unwittingly pumped ashore during a winter beach replenishment project decades after being dumped at sea. See, what they do is take the sea sand out and they pump it out of the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, my God.
So they just happen to pick that up. So
all these mines, these unexploded mines and devices,
they got put onto the beach. So now, let's see. Authorities say that they've removed everything they could, but can't guarantee munitions don't remain there. How do you tell a kid not to dig in the sand? Asked Faith Odell, who lives near the beach in Surf City.
Yeah.
Where most of the fuses were found. It's their nature. What kids do when your kid says, "Why, Mommy? Why can't I dig in the sand?" What do you tell them? They could blow themselves up.
Well, I know
David's thoughts are actually, "Hey kids, let's go dig in the sand."
Where was I not too long ago where they had this guy doing a sand sculpture and it was really cool, and then at the end of the day they just knock it down. I also read these monks just this week. They've been working for days, and some kid decided to do it dancing it, and the monks just was like,
"Well, they do this all the time. They destroy it all the time."
I know.
I think it's a neat thing.
This is why I'm not a monk. Well, so let's
wait. There's some other great New Jersey beach regulations. I love these.
Yeah.
Because it says most of them other common sense, like banning glass containers, fires, pets, and nudity. But Belmore, for example, prohibits smoking, gambling, or cursing, or changing clothes on its beach.
Oh.
It also says that no one may model, draw, or depict any obscene or rude figures upon the beach event.
Oh, darn. I do believe that one time we were at Long Beach, like my wife, my mother, and my aunt were there, and they seemed to be shooting, if not a porn film, then some photographs for a porn film, because it had this rather overly sexy actress in rather underly skimpy attire, and like men just crowding around like,
Well, in Wildwood,
Uh-huh.
don't even think about riding a camel on the beach.
I had never thought of it, but now it's all I'm going to dream about tonight.
Well, that law came into effect after a vendor in 2000 proposed charging people a few dollars to ride on a camel's back for the quarter to a half mile it takes to go to the boardwalk to the water's edge.
Okay.
And other no-nos in Wildwood?
Yeah.
You cannot stand under the boardwalk and looking up through slits between the boards as people walk above your head.
Or else, what?
Well, that's, people will look up.
Yeah, I know, they want to see women's dress. So, you're under the boardwalk. I saw her cooch under the boardwalk.
Also, it's illegal to possess a spear gun on the beach in
okay.
Spring Lake.
I'm good with that. I'm good with a spear gun man.
And in Brigantine, you can't impersonate a member of the beach patrol or revel, disport, or behave in an annoying, boisterous manner, emitting loud cries.
I would go so far as to... I know I'm going to catch some flack for this, but I would go so far as to ban spear guns from elementary schools. I know. Kids should be allowed to explore and experiment, but that's just... The spear gun thing... No. Man, your cough is just getting worse and worse, dude. Oh, poor guy.
And by the way, in Seabright, they have a lovely little sign that says, and I quote, "Do not enter the water if you are experiencing or recovering from diarrhea or have any signs of its symptoms of gastrointestinal disease in the past 7 days."
Oh, Lord. I understand that. I can see it being a recommendation. As far as a law, I wouldn't want to be the cop arresting the person. Come out of the water now.
You don't want to be the lifeguard that's saving them.
Oh, no. Swim to me, please. Oh, Jeff. Oh, did you hack up a loogie on that one?
Yeah.
Oh, poor guy. Hey, we gotta get scooting, so let's do some business.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to talk about Rosie. So let's do that real quick for like 1 minute.
She yelled at Elizabeth and then she quit.
Yeah.
As one of her assistants drew mustaches on Elizabeth's pictures.
Oh, I don't even know about that stuff. I just think it was time. Rosie was becoming very bullying and very nasty again and again, harping on the same topics. Not that the topics aren't important. Not that, even though people are endlessly listening to her on that show, that we're still in Iraq. But, every damn time you put on that show, it was too much.
But I'm telling you, I'm very interested to see how the ratings go now. Once she leaves, I bet you the ratings are going to fall.
Well, also, it's the summer, it's the doldrums, they don't know who's there.
Well, wait
in the
till
fall,
next year.
They'll get a big star, and people might be real interested.
Who are they going to get?
Well, everybody says it might be Roseanne. I don't think that's going to bring... But you
Maybe
never
they'll
know.
get Bob Barker. Did I tell you I was on The Price is Right?
I think Harvey Fierstein would be a lot better. He would be lovable. He would be on the same side of the issues as Rosie. But,
he wouldn't be so annoying.
Oh, Elizabeth, I love what you're wearing. May I try it on?
No, Harvey, you're too fat.
Oh, now. Hey, let's very quickly go through our sponsors. Performing Arts Insider, Theater Magazine, The Bible of Broadway, 10% off for Dave's Gone By listeners. Why don't you do the Mortgages Rock?
MortgagesRock.com.
Why?
Because they do. You can make money if you have a mortgage, refinance the mortgage, refinance your friend's mortgage, get your friends to buy a house and let them have a mortgage through Mortgages Rock. And they're giving a 40% Jeff Goodman discount.
No, they're not. Don't do that. They'll do something nice for you if you mention Dave's Gone By. But
they'll do something nicer if you mention Jeff Goodman.
Yeah, sure. So the main thing to do is go to mortgagesrock.com for everything you need to know about mortgage financing. Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway.
What's your phone number, Dave?
569-5577. Area
Is
code
that 569-5577?
Area code 516. It sure is. And 10% off for Dave's Gone By listeners who mention me, Dave, or Jeff. Every copy job.
Will they be open on Monday?
No, they're not. But they'll be open on Tuesday, and they're open Mondays through Fridays for the rest of the summer. Normally they're open on Saturdays in the winter at Hewlett Minuteman Press, right opposite or across from Loman's and next to the new Loman's shoe store.
They're next to the Loman's shoe store.
That's right.
We love the Loman's shoes.
And you know what else we love? Balloons.
We do?
Fancy schmancy balloons.
I'm getting a little tired of them.
Yeah, me too. But let's give them a little bit of a plug. There's still graduation parties. There's still barbecues and cookouts and things all summer long.
Sweet 16s, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays.
Call Jeff at
516-797-3229.
one more time.
516-797-3229. And you'll get 20% off if you say, "Rip me off, please."
Sounds good. Hey, that sounds like very, very worthwhile. Okay, we're going to do a couple of shout-outs to some people. I want to remind everybody once again that Richard Skipper is playing Carol Channing, doing a special performance at Helen Supper Club on June 5th. That's in Manhattan.
That woman doesn't stay still.
Well, that's just the old-timers. No, I'm kidding. Want to shout out to the couple that we had here a couple of months ago, Michael Lydon and Ellen Mandel. Now, Ellen Mandel is playing the piano for a show that she co-wrote with Lisa Faith Phillips called 7.5 Habits of Highly Effective Mistresses. It's playing at Dylan's Supper Club Tuesdays in June through June 26th. And her husband, Michael Lydon, has this very kitschy and cool new video on YouTube. She's in it. It's a song called Made It to Another Spring. It's very sweet.
And I hear there's going to be a very interesting wedding proposal at one performance.
Of what? Of 7.5... What are you talking? What?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I have no idea where you were going with that.
Well, you have to go to all the performances to see.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, go to all, but don't blame us if it doesn't happen. Anyway.
Oh, it'll happen.
But do check YouTube for Michael Lydon and Ellen Mandel's Made It to Another Spring. That's their song, and Lydon is Lydon. Again, thank you to Drew Velting for his psychological comedy. Thank you to my beloved and beautiful and wonderful wife, Joyce, as ever, for being just the best wife anybody could have. Reminder that June 4th, Monday night, 7 to 10 p.m.
I have nothing to do that night. What should I be doing?
You should be you'll be here in the radio station with me, Jeff, but everybody else should be listening to the 3rd annual WGBB Tony Awards special. I'll be here, Jeff will be here, we'll be also co-hosting with Simon Saltzman, president of the Outer Critics Circle. We'll have Tony nominee choreographer Bill T. Jones of Spring Awakening, and a bunch of critics telling their picks and pans. Monday, June 4th, 7 to 10 p.m.
If they're lucky, they'll be cursing.
No, there'll be no cursing, except off mic on Tony night when we're all going, I can't believe that one. Reminder that vintage episodes of Dave's Gone By are played Saturday nights, back-to-back episodes from 11 until 1 a.m. Saturday nights on DFSXradio.com. It's a portal or a comedy channel on Live365.com. Just go to davesgoneby.org for the information and hear a bunch of episodes of Dave's Gone By for free anytime at all, 24/7 at theaterpod.com. Theaterpod.com. And let's see. Good guests coming up in a couple of weeks, including the America's
You
Foremost...
didn't thank your parents, Dave.
Thank you, Mom and Dad, for...
Giving birth to you?
Well, we did the Mother's Day, and the Father's Day is coming up. We'll
Okay.
do it. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Love you. They're probably listening. Or Mom's sleeping, Dad's listening, something like that. We've got Jay Jacobs, author of a Tom Waits biography. I know we've been promising him for ages.
Wait for that one.
He's coming soon. And Frank Scoblett, the leading author on casino gambling in America, going to be joining us very soon, too.
I'll bet he shows up.
We will certainly be showing up next Sunday, June 3rd, 2007, with a 223rd episode of Dave's Gone By.
Oh, Dave, Karen Valentine just walked in.
Oh, yeah, she's still kind of cute.
Oh, hi, Michael Constantine. How are you?
And how's David Jolliffe doing?
He's
I know
in
the
a
other guy's dead. So until then, don't miss your days going by. This is Dave Lefkowitz wishing you good night, a good education wherever you're getting it, and
Gone by.
And happy Memorial Day.
Man back lying in bed. Maybe it was something that I thought I said. You could tell food today and the temptation of tomorrow. I don't know. I could give you absolute sorrow. Can't stay alive, let's play on Radio 5. But the best that I write with won't tell the truth. To the moments that I can't recall, moments that you treasure, that I think of none measure for pleasure. Losing you is just a memory. Don't mean that much to me. Losing you is just a memory. Don't mean that much to me. Yeah, I'm here too. It is easy for me. Just a memory. Don't mean that much to me. Just a memory. Don't mean that much to me. Lying about laying in bed. Maybe it was something that I thought I'd said.
And the winner is everyone listening to WGBB on Monday night, June 4th. That's when we give our regards to Broadway with a third annual WGBB Tony Award special. We'll play show tunes, ask the experts their predictions, give away prizes, and even talk with Tony nominees. I'm Dave Lefkowitz, host of Dave's Gone By. Please join me Monday, June 4th, 7 to 10 p.m. for the Tony Award special on AM 1240 WGBB, the station that serves your Broadway community.